Very disappointing with the second half of Saturday night, obviously. I thought we played pretty well in the first half. We gave up a block punt, which I thought our offense did a great job of coming out and overcoming that by driving the field. Second half was as bad a football team as I've seen as far as been a part of on all three phases. The drop, fair catch, the offense going 3 and out 6 times in a row before we get a first down and go 4 and out, and then the last drive of 11 plays their touchdown when the game was decided. Defense giving up the first 2 plays and then a touchdown and then get a stop and then get 4 more possessions where they score in 4-play drives. That's bad football. You can't let one half define a football team, because I thought up until that point we'd played very competitive football. Give San Jose State credit. They made more plays than us. Hawaii, Coach Chang is doing a really good job. It's the old run and shoot. They're throwing it all over the place. They're averaging about 58 yards a game rushing, not because they don't have the ability. Jordan Johnson, number 11, he can run. He's fast. He's twitchy. He's a little jitterbug that is physical, can do some things with his feet. Shager can throw it all over the place, doesn't really want to run it, has run it in some key situations. Coach Chang's doing a good job with the mentality of that team. They were down 17-0 to San Diego State, fought their way back to take a 24-20 lead before San Diego State scored a couple touchdowns. They turned the ball over 4 times in that game and still had an opportunity to win in the fourth quarter. So they played competitive football. They're like everybody else in our league. Everybody in our league, top to bottom. Obviously, Air Force Wyoming was a great game. Wyoming had them down, and Air Force scored a couple touchdowns late to solidify themselves, that I think is the best group of 5 team. Somebody in our league will have to knock them off to make otherwise. But we've got a great opportunity at 4 o'clock on Saturday. So I'll open it up.
As far as you guys, don't you feel like you guys are just right there? Because, I look at the Wyoming game and I look at the other games you got in the first half of this last week. It just seems like you guys are just one more little push or something.
We are. It sucks being close, I'll tell you that, because close is still losing. There aren't moral victories. I thought the first half we did a lot of things right outside of that block punt, which was an assignment mistake by a couple guys, obviously not being dialed in. And then you can't have 15 penalties as a football team and win a game. People can say lack of discipline, all that stuff. It's lack of focus. 9 false starts. That's bad football. That's losing football. And we're not good enough to get behind the chains and overcome those things consistently. We did in the first half. We got behind the chains. We completed 3rd and 10 plus 3 different times. And it afforded us the lead in the game. But we're not good enough football team to kill ourselves in the foot. There's teams that are talented enough to do that. We're not. I don't think anybody in our league is. And so we've got to eliminate those things. We did some sudden change things in practice because we haven't been good on sudden change on either side of the ball. So we did some of those things today that was a little bit different in structure. I thought it worked pretty good. But we'll keep addressing those. And you're right. We're a competitive football team. We're close to being a good football team, but we're not yet. The disappointment that was in the locker room, I think there was a little bit of a shock and dismay after what happened in the second half. It started going downhill and we didn't stop it. And I was hoping it was a scheme that they were doing, made some fabulous adjustment, and Coach Brennan made some magical adjustment because they're great coaches, but it wasn't. We weren't doing the things we were doing in the first half, and the game got away from us.
But that makes you feel really encouraged, though, because those are things you can fix.
Absolutely. The thing I was worried about was my impression on the sideline as I'm watching them pop these runs. Because, defensively, this scheme is designed to make things go sideways and we'll outrun them. And if a guy doesn't cross a block, we're not a gap control scheme. We take away gaps. We cancel gaps with movement and confusion. And so if we make them run sideways, we have a better chance. They're getting 6-7 yards downfield before we're making contact. It's a bad formula. And so you get that impression of, they're just physically whooping our tail and they're giving in. They didn't give in, as you watched it on tape. I talked to Coach Brennan yesterday because he's a good friend of mine. We made way too many mistakes in the second half on both sides of the ball. You can't go 3 and out 6 possessions in a row and stay in the game. You can't give up 3-4 play drive touchdowns and have a chance. I thought the most disappointing part of the game, we're down. We held them to the field goal on the 3rd drive, so make it 31-17. Not a big deal. Okay, you could get back in the game. A 14-point lead in college football today is nothing. Look what happened in Wyoming 2 weeks ago. Down 29-12, and all of a sudden it's a 1-score game with a minute to go. We kick off, we drop the ball, which I talked about. Their kickoff team did some really intriguing things. We have it on the 6-yard line, we throw an interception. Defense job to go out there and stone them. We get them in 3rd and 1, and we give up a big play touchdown to make it 38-17. And we're obviously mentally not ready to come back from that either at that point. Doesn't mean the game's over. We didn't make any plays to give ourselves a chance on either side of the ball. So they're fixable, but sooner or later you got to fix them. And that's the challenge, and they know it. Sure.
Jay, what's about with Devin? I think he played in 3, and he can play one more to keep his red shirt. Is red shirt even a concern?
Not a concern. The kid, it's not a concern to the kid. Devin is a team guy. This whole redshirting thing is kind of, I think we've got a team full of team guys. There's 1 or 2 that might have an opinion that they want to do something different, and that's a different deal. It is a team deal first. Devin has never expressed, Devin wanted to play from day one and has never expressed interest in redshirting. Devin gives us some packages and does some things. If those don't present themselves over the next 6 games, then you can always look at that at the end of the year, but we're not putting him in so that we save it. The next 3 years, Devin has a chance to be really special. So the more experience he gets, the better off he'll be next year.
This wasn't the first game where the offense went cold in the second half, in the third quarter in particular. If you take out the Tennessee Tech game, you guys again outscored 54-6 in the third. I mean, what's the read on what happened with the offense?
Obviously, we're making mistakes. We're jumping off sides, getting behind the sticks. We're not good when we're behind the sticks in any half. And we've had more issues with that in the third quarter, so we did some stuff today at halftime to address that.
Is it anything San Jose State?
Nope, nothing that they did schematically. I wish it was. Was not.
I was talking to some of the guys earlier, and they seem really determined to stop this drought of conference losing. Because of they just seem fed up.
We got a team that hates losing. That I think, as a competitor, is the worst thing in the world. I hate losing more than I enjoy winning, which is sad, but it's true. And I knew the challenges of this place when I took the job and where this place was at, and I knew what it was going to take. It's frustrating because from 2002 to 2019, I think I was a part of one losing season, 2008. Outside of that, we were in a bowl game every single year. And I knew it was going to be a challenge, and our team has a bunch of kids that have that same competitive spirit. So they are sick of it. But the way you do it is you go out there and you don't make mistakes, you execute. Give them credit. I believe, this team's spirit is unbelievable. The work that they put in today, the attitude they showed up with yesterday, they were very disappointed and quiet and not a single word because of what happened in the second half. We went through the day, we watched everything, and by the end of the day, or on Sunday, it was, all right, let's move on. We can't change it. It's just like the block punt. We got coaches that are upset, players that are upset, and they're yelling at the 2 individuals. Okay, let that go for about 30 seconds, but guess what? Move on. We don't get to change it. So go out there and make a play to make up for it. And that's kind of the attitude of our team, which is positive. Exactly right.
Coach, first drive, I think it was, you guys had 3rd and 2, and then there was the false start, and then the delay game after that. I know it's the first quarter, but was there any thought to using a timeout before the delay game to try to keep it somewhere within field goal?
The idea on 3rd and 12, on 4th and 12 was we were going to go for it because I didn't want to punt the ball to him because I felt good with our plan, and the plan was good in the first half. The idea of the delay game, Dylan was clapping his hands, so I thought they were going to get the playoff, and they didn't. We've burned a bunch of timeouts this season so far on that. As soon as Dylan claps his hands, he's supposed to snap the ball. We had a miscommunication. It's a combination of both. So I was watching the clock, but when I see the clap, I'm not going to call the timeout because I don't want to screw up the play. And what we thought we had on the 4th and 12, which we ended up getting 4th and 17 and decided to punt, the 4th and 12 play, we thought, because I asked Coach V before the thing, there's not many deals in your bag where you can say, yeah, Coach, I got a great play on 4th and 12. 4th and 2, yeah. 4th and 12, no, but we had a shot that we thought we could connect with, and didn't want to waste them seeing it if on a timeout, if we call a timeout and we start the play. So
each game is an opportunity, and this one, I say it like that just because these guys struggle on the road. Why, dating back to last year, they just can't see them.
Yeah, we're a team that's lost 14 straight conference games, so I'm sure they're hearing the exact same thing, so I don't think that stuff matters. I like the question, though. I hope it is. I hope it does.
What was your view of the offensive line performance with being able to watch the tape in particular?
We can't jump off sides. Coach Blankenship got a mouthful from me because if we're either giving him too much, I'll never blame players. If we're doing something consistently wrong, we're coaching it wrong. So fix it. So we can't make those mistakes because we're not good enough to be behind the chains. So fix it.
There was a shuffle. I think Tito played just 12 snaps.
He had 3 penalties. You don't play if you don't execute. He'll be back in the game Saturday. But it's the old adage of if you continue to do something wrong and you do the same thing and it's still wrong, then shame on you.
Defensive front, so their running success in the second half, you felt was mostly scheme, not necessarily what they were doing.
It was how we were executing our scheme. We didn't get out physical. We were, the same. We have I'll just call it. We have a call. It's called dog spy, where we hit certain gaps and we block. We called that 4 times in the first half. -6, -1, an incomplete pass, and I think a 2-yard gain. We called it twice in the second half. One was a 19-yard, same play that they ran that we stopped for -6. We have a guy that's supposed to cross. He doesn't. He gets upfield, and it opens up a big old hole, and then we miss a tackle by the safety at 9 yards and ends up being that was a 66-yard run. And then later on a 19-yard run where the nose is supposed to wrap and fill in a certain gap, and he goes wide, which he didn't do in the first half on the one that was a -1 play. So we've got to continue to execute it. And I wish they would have, okay, this call's coming, we'll block it different. They didn't. We got to eliminate those mistakes. We can't. Our idea on the running game, which was disappointing that they had 200-yard backs, was, that's usually a tough guy thing. And our idea is to make them run sideways. If you open up holes for them and they're hitting the safeties at 7-8 yards full speed, I think I heard the word that Ned used was bludgeon. You're right. The safeties were getting bludgeoned because we weren't making it bounce. Well, if we make it bounce just like we did in the first half, it works. So they weren't knocking us off the ball. If the defensive line is 4 or 5 yards downfield and he's cutting, it's different. They weren't, but we can't make those mistakes.
Injuries-wise,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
Go ahead. You mentioned the challenges of coming here. You knew what to expect. You were here back when the team was having its run. That was before the transfer portal.
Correct.
Before the pandemic shut things down. It was before the school had its financial crisis. How different is it now compared to when you were before? The challenge is more profound now than when they were here the last time you were here?
Yes and no. When we were here before, we had at the early start of our tenure, we had a president and AD that were very invested in being good, and that, in my opinion, changed a little bit towards the end. I think we have the administration and a great athletic director, a deputy AD that believe and know what the importance of all these things are, so that gives you a chance. You have 0 chance if that's not there. When I took this job and the challenges, the idea was to recruit 25 freshmen, develop those 25 freshmen, bring in another class of 25 freshmen, develop those guys as you're taking lumps, bring in another 25 class of freshmen. In 2020, we brought in 25 freshmen that we never got to see in person when we recruited. There were some good players in there, but because of COVID, we never got to see them. We didn't get to lift a weight in a single year. So COVID, that whole thing changed the time frame of that. You throw 21, you don't get to go out recruiting until the fall, so you don't get the spring, you don't get any of that. That changed a little bit of that. And then they opened the transfer portal. Well, of the first 2 classes, our best players all of a sudden are gone, of guys that you're going to develop for 5 years. So you can complain and say, well, everybody's got those same scenarios. Maybe our COVID was a little bit different. But now the transfer portal gives you an opportunity to change some of that. We did a pretty good job in the transfer portal last year. We're more talented. We still need to develop some of those kids that were very, very talented and they're your quote-unquote 4-star. We got 12 4-star kids on our roster. That's never happened at the University of Mexico. But a 4-star kid, very few of them can come in and play at a high level without having experience. So some of those kids are getting experience on the run. We'll continue to go down that path because if you recruit 25 freshmen, you're going to lose 2 or 3 of your best ones. So we'll take some kids that can't leave again, Obviously, you've seen, if you watched any North Carolina football in the last 2 days, why they were trying to get the governor of North Carolina involved to get Trey Walker healthy and eligible. Not healthy, excuse me, eligible. Well, we can get some of those kids and they can't leave. It'll continue to build. We're more talented now. We're more competitive. We need to continue to develop them and coach them better. Yes, sir, Jeff.
We had a conversation this morning, maybe you can explain it better than I. I'm not looking for excuses or anything. What are the facilities of your football program? And I know it's a broad question, a general question, but like with the stadium facilities.
What do they mean to a player in recruiting?
Well, to program, so overall, to recruiting, because I think every stadium in the league, it had improvements in facilities. And so what does it mean from your perspective? What's the importance of facilities?
I think in today's college football, it's very important. You have to consistently show that you're doing something. And I mean, it started, we've started. We started with the weight room. We started with some of the things that we've done concession-wise. Eddie is doing a fantastic job of, I mean, you saw our strategic plan for the athletic department involved in that behind the scenes and different things. I mean, we're doing stuff that we can update all this. I mean, it takes money. And there's money around that. There's people that are willing, and Eddie is doing a fantastic job. What he has afforded me, and when I first got here, fundraising was a significant deal for that, for the fields out there that you see getting replaced right now. Eddie has really taken a ton of that off my plate. He said, you know what, let's focus on football and don't be a fundraiser. I think that's been very beneficial to our football team this year. I think he's doing a fantastic job, and I think there's plans that'll make this place better. But what we've done is we've shown construct. You have no idea how much that room down there helped in recruiting the construction aspect of it. You got dirt piles, you've got buildings going up. That stuff is significant in recruiting, probably more than what it is right now, as pretty as it is. The fields, all of a sudden, they see tractors around. They see those things are significant. So I tell them sometimes, just put some orange cones up there on the press box and make it look like we're doing stuff. And we'll get during recruiting, and then we'll continue to build, and it'll get better. But Eddie is he's doing a phenomenal job because he has support from President Stokes, and Eddie and David have the right connections in Santa Fe. That you'll see some improvements. We got to do our part on the field, obviously. But you'll see some improvements, and it goes in hand. We get those improvements. All of a sudden, you get more people in the building. You get more resources for football, and then you're better. We are continuing to build in both. I mean, you'd like it to come. Play good on Saturday. That's what I'm going to say.
Injury-wise, no Andrew Erickson or Magnus on Saturday. I'm just curious what was going on.
Andrew should be back. Andrew got banged up in practice a little bit last week. Magnus, both of them practiced today. Andrew Henry practiced today full speed for the first time. Looked really good. So we should be okay. Alec and Tavian came out of the game with their normal bumps and bruises, so they should be back. Or they will be available. So we should have a full slate.
No Ray on Saturday either?
Lotele? He hadn't played in the last 5 games. Just hadn't been fast enough to help on defense.
And that's not a health thing either?
His foot's still bothering him from last year. And if he can't go full speed, I mean, they're working on it. They don't know exactly what the problem is, but if he's not full speed, he's not going to help us.
Dante had the knee thing. He's practicing today, I'm assuming?
He did practice today. He actually looked good today. So he's got he's like an old man. He's got tendonitis that's really bad. And sometimes it flares up and it almost locks his knee up. It caused him a little bit of issue in the first half Saturday. Marvin was playing really well. I mean, they went at him twice, didn't go at him again. The only other one we gave up over top was Zach on the 3rd and 1. And Zach's really in his first full year playing football, so he's gotten better. I mean, Zach is 5th in our league in PBUs. He's made a ton of plays. He's just given up 2 touchdowns that hurt. He gave the one against UMass and the one Saturday. Zach is turning into a really good corner, and it was really good because they don't throw at Dante. Well, Dante went in there and they threw at Marvin, and Marvin made 2 plays, so they start to go right back at Zach. So we're getting better at that spot. We're actually getting better on the deep balls at Wolf Safety. We panic when the ball's in the air. Noah, the very first one in the second half, ran into the guy seeing the ball as opposed to just becoming the receiver. I mean, that continues to come with game experience.
Why on offense they have McBride, who's been just stacking monster games lately. I'm curious to the challenge he poses for you.
Number 7, Steve McBride. He's probably the best receiver that we've seen since A&M. Nick Nash was obviously pretty good Saturday. He's fast. He's long. He can go up and get the ball. He had 3 big-time plays against San Diego State. Like I said, they don't want to run it, but when they give it to Jordan Johnson, it's scary. And then they're a typical Hawaii team. They are a bunch of tough guys that play really hard. And Coach Chang has them believing in the brotherhood and all that. I mean, I don't say it right, and I won't even try to pronounce some of their names. I'll say this. Number 1, their safety on defense, his first name's Peter, not even trying on the second name. He lines up in the middle of the field about 8 yards, not in the middle of the formation. In the middle of the field at about 8 yards on almost every snap, and he runs everywhere. And you'll see him because he's got black hair that's about down to his waist, and it's sticking out. It looks like Troy Polamalu, and he's everywhere. They play with, they're aggressive. I'm proud of Coach Chang and how he has them playing. So he's doing a good job. When June Jones was really successful there, nobody left the island. And Coach Chang is trying to put his fence back around it.
And then Shager as well. Impressions of him, what he does well.
He's like Cordero in the pocket. He can make every throw. He's not as fast as Chevron. Doesn't want to run, but that's not the design of their offense. I think he's pulled the ball on zone read a couple times. He'll pull it on a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 if he needs it, and is capable of getting it. But he will sit back there and you can rush 3. And those guys find windows if you don't get pressure. He's pretty good on getting the ball out quick. I mean, obviously, it's no secret. We're going to try and get the ball out of his hands quick. So we'll have some fun trying to do that. And if we can cover him and tackle, then we'll see what kind of success we can have.